Hello and welcome to the first episode of the Coffee Dates podcast with Georgia Batocco, where I will be your host. We're in the Let's Catch Up over coffee era, so grab yourself your favourite coffee and come and join me. So I've been planning this podcast for a long time now, and I couldn't think what topic would be best fitting for the first episode. You see, I have so many creative ideas, life experiences, and opinions on current life situations that I'd love to share with a bigger circle of people that I struggle to break it all down. Whenever I would sit down to plan an episode, all of the ideas would get jumbled into one, and it felt overwhelming. And then I would begin to think about other people's judgments. So I'd put the pen and paper down and tell myself I'd leave it for another day. It made me think and brought something else to my attention. How many times do we as human beings do this in numerous situations through life? How many times have we let opportunities go purely down to the fear of judgment? Since this podcast that I'm going to be hosting is going to be about sharing and discussing my personal opinions on different events by myself and with guests, I felt this topic for my first episode was rather fitting. And if it could help someone else get the ball rolling to begin to live their dreams, then it's a success. So let's get into it. I'm going to give you a couple seconds to think about a time you let an opportunity slide, or at least almost let it slide due to the fear of judgment from other people and their opinions. This is something that is happening all the time, so I'd love to spend this episode discussing this a little bit more. I'm going to tell you my story, and at the end, I'm going to break this down and tell you my secrets to what helps me stay true to myself and stay on my own path. Have you ever heard about the butterfly effect theory and how every single decision we make, no matter how big or small, no matter how good or how bad, has led you to this exact moment you are living in, this exact life you are now living? If you haven't looked into the butterfly effect theory, I would strongly encourage you do. I personally feel like it's a game changer and has made me realize the importance of being authentic and to live life more intentionally. At the end of the day, once you are born and grown, you really are the creator of your own life and the choices you make. It is up to you to create the life you want to live. Now, remember the butterfly effect theory I have just spoken about, as I will come back to this once I have told you my story. Now, before I go ahead, I want to make it clear that it is absolutely okay and only human to care about how people feel about you as a person. This can be extremely healthy, as it can help you to develop stable and healthy relationships. It can lead us to successful job opportunities, romantic relationships, long-term friendships, etc. But, again, to clear this up, I am mainly today talking about the people's judgments and opinions that can affect us in a more negative way and begin to consume us. So let's get started with my story. So back in 2018, I broke it to my family and friends that I was moving to Australia. I had already got my visa and I was ready to book my one-way flight out of there. So to build a bigger picture, yes, although I had lived out of my family home since I was 17 years old, so at this point that had been around 5 years, I had never moved away from my hometown. I had always been 10 minutes away from my family and friends for my whole life. I had a very good job that I loved and was doing extremely well, building my personal training business at such a young age, but opportunity arose for me to move to Australia, and I knew I had to do it. I had always dreamt of the lifestyle that most Australians live. The whole sunrise and sunset coffee dates and living in a bikini was my idea of a dream, and so I had just assumed the people around me knew this and would be just as excited as I was. But no, this wasn't the case. I mean, don't get me wrong, there was mixed opinions and some of my circle around me was just as excited as I was. But you want to know what was funny? The people that had the most negative things to say were people that had never even lived away from home themselves. Asking me questions like, what happens if you don't find a job? What happens if you don't make friends? What happens if you don't find somewhere to live? So many what ifs, and they would all start with, I don't think you should go. Well, firstly, I can just jump on a flight home if it doesn't work out. Side note, I know COVID affected this, but that's a whole nother conversation. But secondly, the important points to note are, How can these people possibly say they don't think I should go if they have never lived this kind of experience themselves? Could they have been projecting their own fears onto me? Did they want to move away but had never had the confidence to do so? Also, another little side note, these questions could be different coming from your parents, as, naturally they will worry about you. But anyway, who knows why they had this view? But what I do know is people's opinions change. They change through life events and experiences. Funny that, hey? Think about that for a second. Just think about that. Let me repeat it. People's opinions change through life events and experiences. So why would I let someone's judgment/opinion, who hadn't even ever lived away from home themselves, stop me from going out and living my dream? What if I had listened and I had never took that opportunity to move out to Australia and had these amazing experiences I have had and met the amazing people that I have met now? And what if then that person who had told me not to do it due to life constantly changing then had the opportunity to move away themselves and began to live the life that I had always wanted to live? I would have let this escape me. I would have let that person's opinion consume me, and then I would have been left behind. Because as I said, due to life events and circumstances, people's opinions will naturally change throughout life. And to be honest, a lot of people say things they don't even agree with themselves. So, this is an example of the butterfly effect. Me choosing to stay true to myself and make that choice to still get on that flight 5 years ago led me to be living this life today. Had I had not got on that flight, who knows what my life could have looked like? But how crazy is that? Just imagine how different things could have looked. So, make the choice now to be intentional and to live authentically. It is never too late to start applying this to your own life. When my personal training business started to take off at such a young age and I was posting a lot of content online back in around 2014, this wasn't as common as it is now. And so I had a lot of nasty comments which I let consume me and stop me from reaching my full potential at the time. I look back now and a lot of the people who at the time didn't understand what I was doing are now doing the same thing, running personal training businesses, all kinds of businesses and posting content online. After reflecting on this situation, just before moving to Australia, I told myself I would never make the mistake again of letting other people stop me living out my true potential, no matter how uncomfortable it may feel at first. This episode really isn't to badmouth anyone, but it's your sign to take a step back and look at the people you're surrounding yourself with and the opinions you're letting control your life. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this warm-up/intro episode, and I'm looking forward to discussing so many more topics with you guys and introducing you to some of my guests I have planned to come on. I do apologize if you can hear the birds chirping away in the background and the traffic, the joys of living in a city. But yeah, I'm sending you guys lots of love and I'll speak to you next time.